Do you guys know anything about Isaac, Jacob, and Esau? Isaac and his sons, Jacob and Esau?
No, they sound like Bible names.
They are absolutely Bible names. They were Jews, and or maybe this was before the whole. No, they were definitely Jews.
Hebrews.
Oh, Hebrews, yes. So basically, this is Old Testament, and so if you hear anything in this where you're like, that doesn't sound like Jesus, be like, settle down, like it hasn't changed yet. It'll come around to that. So basically, this is when old school rules apply. Isaac, he was old. He was dying. It was in Jesus, way before Jesus' days, and so this is when it was like, oh, you had your kid and you were 72 when you had him, because people lived to be super old then. And of course they did. And in the Bible, yeah, they lived to be hundreds of years old.
I had no idea.
Yeah, people like lived very, very long back then. And so like it was like, oh, Isaac beget whoever when he was 82, or like whatever it is. And Isaac he knew he was going to die soon, and so he's laying in his dying bed, and he goes, to his son Esau, the older one, who was known for being big and hairy and the huntsman. And he goes, Esau, I don't know when I'm going to die. I need you to go out. I need you to hunt for some game and then make me a delicious meal. Bring it to me. I'll eat it, and then I'll give you a blessing. I'll bless you this day forward, And so Esau is like, all right, absolutely. I have to go do this, because this isn't like a blessing of like, Hail Mary, full of grace. This is a real deal blessing. Like it's an actual, think of it like a anointing. Yeah, this was not I give you good luck. It was like a spell of power, basically. Think of it
because let me ask you, who's the character who's in the bed dying? His name is
Isaac.
Isaac is like tight with God, right? So a blessing from Isaac is de facto a blessing from God in some ways.
Yeah, you need to establish to get the intensity of the story that this is a blessing of like, I bless you to be guaranteed to go on and do great shit and be successful.
That's
not
way better than sneezing.
Yes, it's not a bless you, child. Now I die. and so as he tells Esau this, Esau's in there and he goes, okay, I promise you, Father, I'm going to go get that game, make you a meal, bring it back. Rachel, who was one of Isaac's wives, or Rebecca, sorry, who was one of Isaac's wives, was outside of this room and she heard that. And so she goes to her son, Jacob, and she goes, Jacob, he's about to give away this blessing and Esau's out there hunting. We got to go right now. We got to get this blessing right now. You go, you get 2 animals from our stock, bring them in here. I'll kill them. I'll make the meal real quick. And then you go deliver it to him. And Jacob goes, that's all well and good. I'd love to usurp that blessing. But problem is, I am a smooth man and Esau is hairy. Even though Isaac is going blind, he's still gonna recognize me. This speaks volumes to the intellectual capacity of people back in this day.
No, hang on. Let me jump in because I got a theory as to how this could be true. I think that he's blind, right? I think that the father is blind at this point.
Isaac is so old that he's having to squint. He can barely see anything.
He can't see them, so he knows his sons by touch. You take just like remember Ray Charles. He had to get rid of the fatties, right? So when he met a woman, he'd take her hand and he'd wrap his hand around her wrist, not her hand, and he could tell by putting his hand around her wrist if this lady was fat or not. So I think we got a similar thing here. He's feeling for that hairy arm, and he knows who he's got.
It's kind of like that, where Jacob goes, I'm a smooth man. My brother's hairy. He's going to know. Rebecca's like, no excuses. We're making sure you get this blessing because you're my only kid. And so we're not letting this hairy fucker Esau get it. And so he goes, fine. He goes and he gets the animals, brings them back, slaughter them. She's cooking them up. And he goes, when I go in there, he's still going to know it's me. Like, it's my voice. I'm not hairy. And so she goes, I'm going to go get 2 goat skins and drape it over your neck and then over your hands. Over your hands.
Yucky.
As if feeling goat skin on someone's hands, whatever. And so he puts the goat skin on. He goes into Isaac's hut, and he goes, Father, I'm here. And he Esau, is that you, my son? You sound of Jacob. He's like, oh, no, it's definitely me, Esau, the guy you told to get food. Oh, well, I did tell you that, and and Jacob wasn't around. I trust you. Come closer. And he touches his hands with his old man fingers, and he goes, my donkey-handed son is here. my hairy
Worf,
son.
you've come back to me.
Yes. So, you're here. Well, all right, give me my food. And so he sits down, he starts feeding Isaac the food, helping him eat, gets Isaac some wine, lets him drink it. And after he finishes it, Isaac goes, all right, are you really Esau? Because even this blind man was not convinced by this masterful ruse. And he goes, yeah, I'm definitely Esau. And so he goes, you sound just like Jacob, though. Like, you sound just like him. Like, I'm blind, not deaf. And he goes, okay, give me one more stroke of the hands. He gets one more hand stroke, and he goes, all right, I'm good. I believe it's Esau now. So he gets one more hands of Esau touch, and Isaac goes, all right, prepare for your blessing. And he says, I want to find the actual blessing here so you can hear what it was. Over. Yeah. So he said, come near me and kiss me, my son. And so he kissed him, his son. He smelled Esau's furs and the huntsman upon him, so he was comfortable giving the blessing. And this is the blessing. He said, see, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give you the dew of heaven and of the fatness of the earth and plenty of grain and wine. Let people serve you and nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you.
Wow.
You cover
powerful blessing.
You cover a lot of bases with that.
Wow.
Those
who don't like you, they're fucked. Those who are tight with you, they get risen up too. Oh. Everything you want is yours. You even smell good, bro. You smell nice. It
facilitates an awesome, dope life for him. And so as Jacob is leaving, like 30 yards away, Esau's coming in with the stuff that he just hunted and cooked and made. Like, he fucking slaughtered stuff out there, made a pot, made a fire, made all this shit. And Jacob is like taking those furs off real quick, throwing them behind the hut, and then running back into the house behind his mom. And Esau walks up and he goes into Isaac's tent. Esau goes, Father, arise, eat of this meal I've prepared for you so that you may bless me. And Isaac, with that look on his blind, I've been hoodwinked face, goes, but who was it that brought me food just a moment ago? I've already given your blessing. Who was that? And of course, Esau's like, are you shitting me? Like, are you shitting me? Like, someone already came and get this? Like, there's only so many of us in the world right now. It had to be Jacob. Was it a woman? Was it a woman? No, then it was Jacob. It was fucking Jacob. There's not a lot of us here. So I narrowed it down. So he says to his father Isaac, he says, you know what? Okay, I understand. Like, he's violent, like shaking. He's so mad, but he goes, Father, you must have another blessing. You must have another backup blessing.
Does he have shortage of blessings? He just says them.
That's the thing. He says, Father, please bless me. Please give me a blessing. I need something. I've done this for you. And Isaac, like a fucking Radio Shack, no returns, no matter what employee, is sitting there going, I'm sorry, I can't. There is no more blessing for you. There's none. I can't give it. And Esau's like, this is ridiculous. Like, you can just give me a blessing. And Isaac, apparently being clued into God's like, no, the words have been said. The spell has been cast. Your brother is blessed, and you are not.
Want me to go to God and tell him I didn't recognize my own son that I was trying to bless? You think he's going to give me some more blessing mojo if I tell him I gave the wrong fucking son of mine the blessing? Yeah. Never again will he give me mojo.
He'll never give me another blessing privilege when he finds out that I gave it to literally the only other person that I could have accidentally given it to. 100% failure. And so basically, Isaac eventually says to his son Esau, he says, I'm so sorry, I can't bless you. And he tells him this. He says, what then can I do for you, my son? He's asking, have you but one blessing, my father? And Isaac says, behold, away from the fatness of the earth shall your dwelling be, and away from the dew of heaven on high. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow restless, you shall break his yoke from your neck. And so he didn't only not get a blessing, he got like a spelled out prescription for how much his relative or his ancestors are going to have to serve Jacob, the shitty brother who stole his inheritance from him, that blessing, which is basically the inheritance that you get from a God man.
Hey, that's not where the Arabs came from, is it? Or is that a different Bible story?
This is a later chapter. Yes. I think that might be Cain and Abel you're thinking of.
I thought that was the black people.
Esau and, maybe. But yeah, there'll be more to this story as I continue with Isaac and Jacob in later chapters. But man, like I had to reread it to like get the full story again today because I haven't thought about it in a long time.
Yeah, I remember that. I would be the goat skin.
livid if I was Esau and I found out that I didn't even someone stole my blessing, and then also I don't even get like a thanks for coming blessing. Like,
so the way my preacher the way my preacher explained that is he said he was blind, of course, and that those goat skins, like, it's not just about feeling the hair, but he had the scent, that like the huntsman's scent from those goat skins he was wearing. He smelled like the right son in the hoodwinking portion of the story. And of course, they weren't like goat skins with like goo on the other side, so there's no confusion. You know, it was more like a fur blanket.
Yeah, but man, like insult to injury.
Not that any of this ever happened, of course.
No, but yeah, if you pretend it does, then it makes it more fun.
This is no different than us discussing that episode of House of Cards, right? Like, and then he fucking pushed her in front of the subway train, and he became the president.
Dude, but this is so much.
Spoiler alert, season 2.
This is so much cooler than House of Cards because the stories are old as shit.
True? Oh, my bad.
Like, it's so old that it's like, I don't know, you can see morality like almost forming. And like the way, like back then, it clearly was not the God yet of the New Testament, which is like the omnipotent, omniscient, good God who's trying to like help out and shit. Like, this is still when it's like just getting started. This is Genesis 27, I think. I wrote it down. Yeah, Genesis 27 is this story. So it's real early on, and they're still in that mode of like our tribal deity, you know? So even God, like, when he finds out, like, oh, hey, sorry, God, I accidentally gave the wrong blessing. Can you give me another one? Even God is like a fickle tribal God of like, no, you fucked it up. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, he's a smaller God. He's definitely a smaller God. He's not Lord of the universe and commander of the stars. He's more like that guy we're really tight with who does a little magic.
Yeah, it does a little magic.
Let me tell you about 30 seconds of regret there, son.
Yeah.
Men for ages will experience that.
Man, these Bible stories, it's the only way to live a good life.
I still want to hear like some more about Jonah and the whale, because I don't think I actually ever heard or have read the Bible verses do
you want me to tell you Jonah?
No, because I know the basic story. But I want to. Are you prepared to tell the story of Jonah?
I know enough about Jonah to say it. Maybe you can fill stuff in. So basically, Jonah was one of those prophets, right? Where prophets had a ton of power back then. They were just God's messengers. And so God went to Jonah and said, hey, I need you to go to Nineveh and tell them that literally everything they're doing in their lives every day is evil. And if they don't stop, I'm going to destroy this entire city and kill all of them. And Jonah goes, honestly, there's not a good track record of people who show up in Nineveh telling them not to do this shit. Like almost like literally, yeah, all of them die. They all get crucified or murdered or something horrible or drawn and quartered. Like, I'm not going to go be that guy in Nineveh. Screw that. And so obviously Jonah is like, I'm running away. I'm running away from God and from home. And so he goes down to the docks, pays a fee to get on there, doesn't fully explain who he is. They know he's a prophet, but they're not of the Jewish religion. And so they don't really care. You know, they're doing their own thing. They say, all right, come on board. He hops on board. They start sailing across just away from Nineveh. He doesn't know where he's going. He's just trying to get away from Nineveh. They get out there in the middle of the waters, and the most heinous storm breaks out, that to the point that even though Jonah is down below, everybody up top is throwing a fit. They're freaking out. They're all like weathered sailors trying to survive, and Jonah's down there sleeping. And so someone comes down there and goes, Jonah, you're sleeping. Like, this isn't, a fucking Ramada 2,000 years from now. You got to get up here and help out. Like, this is getting out of control. Come on. And so he goes up there, and the whole time it's like Jonah is the guy who clogged the toilet, that nobody knows it was him, and he is trying to help clean up the mess, to where he's like, he knows it's him, and he's like, yeah, it is totally gross. Like, who did this? And like trying to clean it up. And he's trying to help. And eventually they're like, they get clued in a little bit more, because they realize, Jonah, you were running away from responsibility with your God? Like, you had to do something for your God, and you said no, and you ran away, and now you're on this boat with us in the ocean. You did that. And Jonah's like, I know, like, hindsight's 2020. And so Jonah is like, I'm so sorry about this, guys. Like, I'm still a man of my God. And so, we'll work on something else. Let's throw everything overboard first. And so they start throwing everything overboard that they don't need to survive for like one more day to get to shore. It's still not enough to keep them afloat. And so they start casting lots, which is just rolling dice, to see who is going to be the person that they throw overboard, because they have run out of weight. and they have to get this. It's either one of us dies for sure, or we all end up dying. And so they cast lots, and as they're doing it, Jonah's like, stop, I'm jumping off the boat. This is my fault. As soon as I jump off, you guys should be okay. God wants me, not you. And they're like doing that thing of like, oh man, are you sure? Like, hey, like, please don't. Hey, you come back here, Jonah. Don't you make us twist your arm? You know, as he's like jumping over into the water. And so he jumps over into the water. Instantly, storm subsides, stops. What happens beneath the waters that you don't know, all the people that were on the boat are just, you know, they continue about their merry way, having been basically transitively proselytized to that the Jewish God is the true God. And so
and scary.
You know, and very, very frightening, which is important in tribal gods. They go on out. Jonah's in the water. God sends a giant fish, not a whale, because they didn't know that whales were not giant fish. They send a giant fish, swallows up Jonah. That's the part that everybody's familiar with. For 3 days and 3 nights, he lived in the fish's stomach. Basically, in like, if you look at ancient drawings of this, you see what they imagined these beasts' stomachs to look like. Almost like Woody's East Sunroom is what one of these things look like. Like just a very nice, spacious, you know, not too many organs, you know, mucking up the works, crowding it. It's just very, very nice. And so he stayed there 3 days and 3 nights until eventually the fish vomits him back up, pretty much right where he left off, as a way for God to be like, oh, look who's back. And so he throws him up. God tells him again, he goes, hey, Jonah, so we're not going to get into stuff. We both know what you did. You tried to run away. Like, I figured you knew I was God and I would find you. Like, this is a lesson that you should have known. You are a prophet. Seriously, though, I need you to get to Nineveh and tell them that everything that you're doing is going to cause them imminent death. I will destroy them if they don't stop having sex and sacrificing animals to Baal or whatever, you know, other gods that they were, you know, golden calves and the like. And this time Jonah's like, I have no option. I got to go. I got to go to Nineveh. So he goes to Nineveh. As he gets there, this is almost like a bit of a Shyamalan twist to this story. He goes in, gets up on his pedestal, shaking, so nervous because he knows what happened to every other person who goes into Nineveh, and says, it'd be like going on Bourbon Street and trying and like stealing beers out of people's hands. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, someone's going to, you know, bottle you or something. And so he gets up there, starts spreading the word, saying, guys, if you don't stop, God's going to kill all of you forever, and your city will be gone. Miraculously, all of them look around and almost have a communal, like, well, we had a good run, didn't we, Nineveh? Like, we really got raucous, quite a bit of debauchery, sex, animals, the whole nine, you know, but let's call it quits. This is the same guy who got swallowed by a whale, according to that other fisherman who, you know, we all trust Jeff, right? So, so then they all actually listen. The whole city of Nineveh takes it to heart and says, we are going to follow God. We're going to get rid of this sin. And so at the end of it, Jonah comes out looking like a real retard because the whole time God knew that Nineveh was going to come around. And it was almost like it was a test for Jonah's faith, you know?
But it does seem like they only came around because Jonah defied God and experienced the whole whale thing and let some Geneva or wherever the fuck people see that God was real, right?
But you can't look that far into it.
God cheated his own system. Like he's up there like, no, I'm not going to fucking make any magic for you to see so you'll worship me. Well, I might this time, though.
Just maybe this time. He's ridiculous like that God. You know, he's always pulling hooks.
Because if he really wanted us to sign on board, right, all he's got to do is show up. Like, I don't even need, like, a seminar. Like, this doesn't have to be like a Tony Robbins thing where it goes on for hours and I'm in the audience like, yeah, he's really winning me over. Like, I need a paragraph from this guy. Yeah. Just make an appearance, be like, float down.
How are you pulling all this out, though? Like where, like, do you into Bible study, or did you go to what? How did you just pull that out?
Oh, these are things Taylor knows.
I went to a private school, like a religious school, for a lot when I was younger, and so I know all the boilerplate tales and such because I've been told them so many times. Yep. And as I was like in mid-teens, late teens, I got more into like looking into it, trying to figure it out. And so I just like read through the Bible, and you know, you pick a lot of it up when you read it. And then if you actually get an interest in it, it's like, this is, you know, these are pretty interesting stories.
I don't know any of it really, or remember any of it. I guess you could say. So
that
you could be making
you for second most knowledgeable in the podcast.
We had coloring books for this stuff. Like you really hammer home these points and the reason.
You could be making shit up for all I know, but you said it with such conviction and like just your like pacing on it and everything. I'm like, oh yeah, maybe that did happen. Yeah. Maybe it did. Maybe it did. Man, fuck, man. I was gonna go lobstering in August, but fuck it. Now I ain't going near the ocean.
He slipped shit in there, and he's like, hindsight's 20/20, and I'm like, they said that. Well, I guess he said, okay.
I guess. Yeah, there's a lot of modern phrases in the Bible. You guys, I mean, you don't know about.
What do you think?
Tell me about Jesus.
Tell me. Well, Jesus, you could go on forever because lots of tales about that guy. And but yeah, these obscure, more Old Testament tales, you can tell most of them, and if you get like 20% of it wrong, most people have no fucking idea. Like maybe one person will be like, actually, it was a different, that was Elisha, not Elijah in that story or something like that. But anyway, that's enough.
Elisha become Elijah?
No, Elisha is Elijah's protege.
Bruce became.
Okay, who was the guy whose name changed when God came into his life? Like he just became another guy.
Saul became Paul.
Okay, thank you.
That's a New Testament thing. Yeah,
I knew the names sounded alike. I was like, they didn't change it much, you know.
Yeah. Saul used to persecute Christians, and then God came to him, changed him into Paul. Then he became one of the great proselytizers, of the era. But the end. Not the end. There's a lot more pages.
There's books and books.
Yeah, God's pretty shitty in that book. Like he's always playing favorites. Like modern Christianity is all about how God loves all of us so much. Like they hammer that home endlessly. God loves you so much, you, and no matter what you do, he'll still love you that much. That's why he gave his only son, just so you wouldn't have to sacrifice a goat to ensure that you get to go to his everlasting kingdom of heaven. That's what it was all about, because you and your evil sin that's part of you. And it's like, yeah, but there's plenty of times in there that he was a real dick, right? Like a petulant child, a guy who like played favorites to the point where like if you saw that happen in politics, you'd be like, this is fucking horseshit. Like who was the warrior king who like you told the story before. There's the warrior king, maybe David. Is it David who sends the soldier off to war so he can get with the guy's wife? Yeah. And God's like, all's fair in love and war, I guess, saith the Lord.
God like shows.
So this is a regular thing you guys do?
Occasionally.
Once a month.
Yeah, every once in a while. I'm going to start doing it more because I think they're fun.
Yeah, Bible stories is good.
That, I mean, like there was no like hesitation, no like lull in that story. I was like, oh, wow.
Well, he's got notes.
Did I see something?
Not for Jonah. I know. You knew Isaac Jonah notes. But yeah, God fucked up on accident a lot in the Bible. No, you can see, like, one of his first fuck-ups with the Tower of Babel, where everybody on earth was speaking the same language and was working together to build the tower to heaven, and God saw it, and it was almost like he built a custom Civ game, and he's like, damn it, I forgot to set the settings right, and now everybody's getting along. All right, break up the languages, go in different areas. Okay, all right, we're good. And so there's just a part of the Bible where it clearly he fucked up and they were all speaking French or whatever. And so he had to like invent a bunch of shit and break everybody up, get them fighting. Otherwise,
God
it's just a peaceful story.
The whole way through, God makes mistakes and errors, and he plays favorites, and he's jealous, and he's angry, and he's wrathful, and he's petty. Petty to no end when you consider that he's supposed to be a God. Like, he's petty for us. He is petty for a human being. It's those are the upsetting parts.
He's a jealous God. Yeah.
He is a jealous, and you hear that, and I'm saying this for you other two's sake. Like, these are things you hear in church. He is a jealous God. He is a wrathful God. Like, you need to know.
Aren't a couple of them just about loving?
Thou shalt not worship false idols.
Yeah, no other gods, no idols.
Shall come before me.
Don't take the Lord's name in vain.
Yeah.
It's like honor the Sabbath. No murder, no stealing.
See, now those I can get on board
don't
with, but
adulterate my wife.
It seems like, 2 or 3 of those things are just about loving me more. Like if they are commandments, like 30% of them are devoted to just fucking.
So much of the Bible is
there are fluff in that list.
There are huge moments in the Bible where like everything stops because God doesn't feel loved enough. Like Moses comes down with the 10 Commandments, right? And they're down there worshiping the calf, and he smashes them. There's tons of like just people getting angry and like going like what did God? I always wondered like how did God feel about that, right? Like when Moses smashes the 10 Commandments.
He made new ones.
He didn't he?
Yeah, he made them new. Like, but it betrays the time, because it's like back in the day, you didn't want your tribal god to be the all-loving, all-caring, wants everybody as part of your group. Like, no, you want your god to be the insular, containing, we are powerful, we are mighty, fear us kind of god. Because guaranteed those Ammonites over there, their god doesn't want anything to do with you. Their god is a ferocious war god who wants them to succeed and drink your blood or whatever. So, like, to be tribal like that, you need a god that's fierce. And
see, there you go again.
You got stories about the walls of Jericho and like what we did to what the Hebrews did to the Hittites and all of those. When God decided that you were no good and then he got behind his people, like there's just story after story of like cities being smoked and God will like enumerate like what he wants done. He won't just be like, they're against us, they must die. He'll be like, and their children and their goats. Yeah. And if you see a baby goat that was born on that morn, and he was born to evil, so you slaughter the baby goat as you would the adult goat. And he's like all this backwards talking that's like a metaphor for kill everything and everyone and salt the fields. Like he's not a friendly kumbaya kind of god. He's like you said, he's a war god, and more often than not, he's all about destroying our enemies or protecting us.
Yeah, but then when you get into like the Eastern Roman Empire with Constantine, and he politicized Christianity as the official religion of the empire.
I wonder
that was post Jesus.
Because Constantine,
it was more like everybody come into our fold and be a part of our team because I have this vast empire, and so obviously it's better if we can try and get everybody on the same page with some of this shit.
From the stories, it almost seems like Constantine was like maybe in like a fever dream was converted for reals though, right? Because he saw the cross in the air, right?
Yeah, before he rode into battle.
And then he rode into battle the next day with the crosses on his shields, I think, and they fucking won when they weren't supposed to win. And he was like, oh, Rome is Christian now.
Yeah.
Then you get then the popery leads from there.
Yep.